The dojo was already loud before the shouting started. Wooden floors creaked beneath bare feet as more than 50 students sat in disciplined rows, white just crisp, belts tied tight. The air smelled of sweat, disinfectant, and old timber, years of training embedded into the walls. Calligraphy banners hung high above the mat, their black ink symbols preaching discipline, respect, and control. Irony, it turned out, had a sense of humor. At the far edge of the room, near the equipment racks, the janitor moved quietly. He was an older man, shoulders sloped from decades of labor, gray hair thinning beneath a worn cap. His name was Mr. Alvarez, though few here bothered to learn it. He pushed a mop carefully, as if trying not to disturb the energy of the place, eyes lowered, invisible by design. Until someone decided he shouldn't be. "Hey, watch where you're dragging that thing." The voice cut through the dojo like a slap. Conversations fell quiet, heads turned. Derek Harlow, black belt, local tournament favorite, and the dojo's loudest ego, stood with his arms crossed, a crooked grin on his face. His gi was open at the chest, confidence dripping from every careless movement. He was the kind of fighter who loved being watched more than he loved the art itself. Mr. Alvarez froze. The mop stopped mid-swipe. I'm sorry," the old man said softly. "I'll be out of your way in a moment." Derek stepped closer, eyes narrowing as if the apology offended him. "You don't clean while class is still in session." Derek snapped. "That's basic respect. Or is that too hard for you to understand?" A few students shifted uncomfortably. No one spoke. Mr. Alvarez nodded again, shrinking in on himself. "They told me to finish before closing. I'll just—" Derek reached out and kicked the mop bucket lightly, sending dirty water sloshing onto the floor. The sound echoed. A couple of students winced. "Clumsy too," Derek said, louder now. Figures. That was when she stepped forward. She hadn't been sitting with the students. She hadn't been wearing a gi. In fact, she didn't look like she belonged in the dojo at all. She wore faded camouflage pants and an olive-green tank top. The fabric stretched across lean, powerful muscle. Her blonde hair was tied back tight, no loose strands, no jewelry. She stood near the back wall moments ago, unnoticed. Until now. "Hey," she said. The word was calm, flat, not loud at all, yet somehow it carried. Derek turned, annoyed. "This doesn't concern you." She walked closer, boots soft against the mat, eyes locked on the mop water pooling near Mr. Alvarez's feet. "He's doing his job," she said. "You're interrupting training." A few students glanced at one another. Derek laughed. "Who are you?" he asked. "New instructor, or just lost?" She didn't answer immediately. Instead, she picked up the fallen mop bucket and set it upright, handing it back to the janitor with a nod. "You can finish," she told him quietly. Mr. Alvarez hesitated, eyes darting between them. Derek stepped in front of her, blocking the janitor's path. "I didn't give permission," Derek said. "This is my dojo." The woman finally looked directly at him. Really looked. Her eyes were steady, calculating, not angry. Assessing. "No," she said, "it's not." That did it. Derek's grin vanished. "You think you can talk to me like that? I've trained here for 8 years. Black belt, regional titles, you—" She shrugged slightly. "I don't compete." The answer confused him. Then he smirked again. "So you're nobody," he said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "That explains it." A nervous laugh rippled through a few students, quickly dying when no one else joined in. Derek circled her, slow and theatrical. "You should move before you embarrass yourself." She didn't turn to follow him. She didn't raise her guard. Her hands hung loose at her sides, fingers relaxed. "The last warning," she said. "Leave him alone." The dojo had gone completely silent now. Even the instructors at the back had stopped talking. Derek scoffed, or what? She finally exhaled, the kind of controlled breath that comes before violence, but not uncontrolled violence. Precise violence, or, she said, "You're going to learn something today." Derek's eyes lit up. "Good," he said. "I was hoping you'd say that." Around them, 50 students leaned forward without realizing it. No one knew her name, no one knew her past. All they knew was that something had shifted in the room, something heavy, electric, and inevitable, and somewhere deep inside, the dojo itself seemed to understand, this wasn't going to be a lesson from the curriculum. This was going to be a reckoning. The silence that followed Derek's last word felt heavier than the wooden beams above them. 50 students sat frozen, backs straight, eyes flicking between the black belt and the woman who hadn't even taken a fighting stance. The instructors along the back wall exchanged uneasy glances but said nothing. Pride, curiosity, and the unspoken rule of "let fighters settle it" kept them rooted in place. Derek rolled his shoulders like a performer stepping onto a stage. "You heard me," he said, raising his voice. "If you want to make a scene, we can make it official." He reached down and untied his black belt with deliberate slowness, letting it slide free and drop onto the mat. The sound was soft, but symbolic. A few students gasped. Removing the belt was a challenge, a declaration. This isn't training anymore. The woman didn't move. She watched him the way a seasoned hunter watches a careless animal, without fear, without haste. "I'm not here to fight," she said. Derek laughed. "That's what they all say. I'm here to stop you." She corrected, that drew a ripple of murmurs. Derek stepped closer until they were barely an arm's length apart. "You think I'm afraid of you?" he asked. "I've broken men twice your size." She tilted her head slightly. "Then you should know better." For the first time, Derek's confidence wavered, just a flicker. Something about her tone didn't match the words. There was no bravado, no heat, just certainty. He shook it off. "Fine," he said. "One round, no points, no rules. Everyone here gets to see what happens when someone disrespects the mat." He turned to the students. "Watch closely." The woman finally stepped forward onto the center of the mat. She removed nothing. No shoes to kick aside, no belt to loosen. She stood exactly as she was, shoulders loose, weight balanced on the balls of her feet. One of the senior instructors cleared his throat. "Derek, stay out of it." Derek snapped. "She asked for this." The instructor hesitated, then stepped back. Mr. Alvarez hovered near the exit, clutching his mop handle like a lifeline. He wanted to leave, but his feet wouldn't move. The woman noticed. "Sir," she said without taking her eyes off Derek, "stand back." Her voice was calm, but it wasn't a suggestion. The janitor obeyed immediately. Derek bounced lightly on his feet, shadowboxing, throwing quick jabs into the air. "See," he said to the students, "no guard, no stance. She doesn't even know what she's doing." She exhaled slowly, then, finally, she spoke his language. "You lead with your right," she said. "You drop your left hand when you kick, and you fight angry." The dojo went still. Derek froze. "What did you say?" She took one small step forward. "You fight angry. That's why you overcommit." A flush crept up Derek's neck. "You've been watching me. I've been watching everyone," she replied. "You're the loudest." That was the last crack in his control. With a sharp shout, Derek lunged. It was fast, faster than most students could follow. A textbook opening strike, aggressive and powerful, meant to overwhelm and intimidate. He never landed it. The woman shifted, not back, not away, but inside the attack. Her movement was subtle, almost lazy to the untrained eye. One step, a slight turn of the hips. Derek felt his balance vanish. He stumbled, barely catching himself before hitting the mat. Gasps echoed through the room. "What?" he muttered, spinning back around. She hadn't struck him. Not yet. "You're telegraphing," she said. Again, humiliation burned across his face. 50 students watched him reset, jaw clenched, breath heavier now. "This doesn't count," he snarled. "I slipped. Of course you did," she said. This time Derek attacked with everything: combination strikes, kicks, raw strength fueled by wounded pride. He came hard and fast, determined to end it, but the woman was already somewhere else. She moved with efficiency, not speed, each step placed with purpose. She parried without blocking, redirected without force. She let his momentum betray him again and again. To the students, it looked impossible. Like watching someone fight smoke, to Derek it felt like drowning. His strikes meant nothing. His balance betrayed him. Sweat poured down his face. Panic crept in where confidence had lived seconds before. "Fight me," he shouted. "I am," she replied quietly. The students no longer sat forward. They sat still, because they were beginning to understand something terrifying. This wasn't a fair fight. This wasn't even a contest. This was a demonstration, and it was far from over. Derek's breathing turned ragged. The dojo felt smaller now, walls closing in, air thick with disbelief. Sweat dripped from his chin onto the mat as he squared up again, eyes burning with frustration and fear he didn't yet recognize. The students watched in absolute silence, their training forgotten, instincts overridden by something far more powerful than curiosity. They were witnessing control, not dominance, not brute force, control. Derek wiped his mouth with the back of his hand and charged again, abandoning form entirely. His footwork broke down as anger took the wheel. He threw a wild hook, then another, trying to overwhelm her through sheer aggression. The woman didn't retreat. She stepped into him. Her forearm rose at the exact moment his punch peaked, intercepting the strike not with a block, but a deflection, redirecting force rather than meeting it. Her other hand slid to his wrist, twisting just enough to steal leverage. Derek felt a sharp shock up his arm, pain flaring before his brain could process it. He grunted and tried to pull back, too late. She rotated her hips, driving a short, devastating elbow into his chest. Not full force, measured force, enough to knock the air from his lungs, enough to break his rhythm. Derek staggered. The students gasped as one. She didn't pursue. She let him stumble backward, regain his footing, experience the humiliation. Her eyes never left his center mass. "Stay down," she said. He wheezed, bent over, hands on his knees. Pride screamed louder than pain. "I'm not finished," he rasped. She nodded once. "Your choice." Derek roared and rushed her again, lower this time, trying to tackle, to drag the fight into something ugly and uncontrolled. He wrapped his arms around her waist, using his weight, his size. For half a second, it looked like it might work. Then she dropped her center of gravity, her feet rooted to the mat like anchors. She shifted her weight subtly, guiding his momentum past her instead of resisting it. Derek felt the world tilt as his grip slid. She hooked one arm under his shoulder, the other across his hip, and lifted. Gasps erupted. With a powerful, efficient motion, she hoisted Derek off the ground, his feet kicking uselessly in the air. Muscles in her arms and core tightened, not strained, not shaking, controlled. Derek's face twisted in shock. "Put me down," he shouted. She didn't answer. She stepped forward and rotated, using his own weight as leverage. The throw was clean, precise, no flourish, no wasted energy. Derek hit the mat hard, the impact echoing through the dojo. Silence followed. Derek lay there, stunned, staring at the ceiling. His chest rose and fell in shallow bursts. The world spun. Before he could gather himself, she was already on him, not to strike, to end it. She dropped one knee beside his ribs and secured his arm in a joint lock so fast most students didn't even see the transition. Pressure built instantly, surgical, unforgiving. Derek cried out, Tap. Someone whispered. He didn't. His pride refused. She increased the pressure by a fraction. That fraction changed everything. Derek screamed and slapped the mat frantically. I tap. I tap. She released him immediately and stood, stepping back without a word. Derek curled onto his side, clutching his arm, face flushed with pain and disbelief. The black belt, the symbol of his dominance, lay abandoned across the mat, inches from his outstretched fingers. No one moved, no one spoke. The woman turned and walked to the edge of the mat, stopping near Mr. Alvarez. She bent down and picked up the mop bucket Derek had kicked earlier. You were saying, she asked the old man gently. Mr. Alvarez's eyes were wide. His voice trembled. I just need to finish. She nodded and handed him the bucket. Take your time. Behind her, Derek struggled to sit up, his bravado shattered. 50 students stared, not at him but at her. At the way she stood, at the calm in her breathing, at the absence of celebration, of ego. One of the instructors finally found his voice. Who are you? He asked. She paused, glancing back over her shoulder. Someone who doesn't like bullies, she said. Then she added quietly, almost as an afterthought, and someone who learned a long time ago that real strength doesn't need an audience. The words settled like weight on the room. Derek looked away. The students did not, because in that moment they understood something none of their belts had taught them. Power doesn't announce itself. It simply ends the fight.